Who are you? Why are you here? What is your purpose in life? Or does all our lives have meanings attached to it? Have you ever paused your life for a moment and asked yourself these questions? If you have, you're not alone. If you haven't, then get ready to dive into the world that would make you question everything that you already know. Welcome to my review on Sophie's World by Jocelyn Gardner, a book on the history of philosophy. Now, do not worry, I'm not going to bore you with philosophical advices. Oh, wait, are you one of the persons who thinks that philosophy is all about a bunch of life advices and the cycle of karma? Then you're absolutely wrong. Philosophy is so much more. Before we get started, I want to give you a disclaimer that I'm not going to talk about much about the plot and the story. Instead, I'll be sharing with you some fascinating insights that I've gained from this book. To begin with the gist of the story, Sophie, a 14-year-old girl, living a pretty ordinary life with her mother while her dad works abroad. So she goes to school, hangs out with a friend, the usual. Then one day she receives an envelope or she finds an envelope in her mailbox that has two questions in it. Who are you and where does the world come from? Sophie is immediately hooked and starts pondering over these questions. She asks herself, who am I? Am I my body or am I my mind or am I the identity that I have created for myself? As the story unfolds, she receives much more letters with mind bending philosophical questions that further evolve into philosophical lessons about human thoughts throughout history. Now, there's a twist in the story. After a point, Sophie comes to know that these letters are not actually addressed to her, but to another person called, or another girl called Hilde. So it's basically like a story inside a story, just like the philosophical version of Inception. Remember, I told you I'll not be talking much about the plot or the story in the book. So let's cut to the chase and start talking about what philosophy really is. Picture this, a man sitting under a tree a few hundred years before Christianity, gazing at the sky. What would he be thinking about? Today, we have a lots of things to think about, such as our bills to pay, our relationship dramas, the trending news, and a billion other things. But what would a man in the early days of civilization would really think about? This is where philosophy begins. This book, Sophie's World, has presented philosophy in a chronological order that makes it interesting to read and also easy to follow. The journey begins in ancient Norway long before Christianity arrived there. So, people in those times believed that Thor was riding in the sky in his chariot, swaying his hammer to produce thunder and lightning. When a majority of the people were immersed in these mythical beliefs, there were a few daring thinkers who asked the question, what if things aren't the way they seem? So, this is where the real trouble begins. So, this book has a lot of lives of philosophers and their works, but in this video, I'm going to talk about some of my top favorites and their best works that has impressed me. First up, Socrates. Though he is not the first, he is considered the first because he was focused more on humans rather than God or nature. He is considered the greatest because he was one of the few philosophers who openly admitted that he knows very little about the world. Now, he did not teach his students about what is philosophy or what is the meaning of life, or he did not write books about his ideas. Instead, he strolled around the bustling marketplaces in Athens, picking up random youth and asking them questions about what is life and its purpose. Now, asking questions always leads them to trouble. Socrates was accused of corrupting the minds of the youth with introducing new gods and also disrespecting the old religions. So he was sentenced to death by poison. Now, Socrates could have fled the country or begged for mercy, but If he had done that, we wouldn't be talking about him after these thousands of years. One of the witnesses of Socrates' tragic death is a 29-year-old Plato, one of his devoted followers. Now, Plato was more focused on the natural world. He believed or he developed a theory that there is a world of ideas behind the real material world. Imagine this. A group of men were imprisoned inside a cave since birth. They were only allowed to look in front of a wall. On the wall, they were seeing shadows that were cast from the real world, and they all believed that these shadows are the real world. Now, one day, one of the prisoners escapes from the cave and, curious about what is the source of these shadows, ventures outside. So, he is amazed by the real objects that produce these shadows. So, he comes back to the cave and tells his other cave mates that there is a world outside. But these cavemen never believed him, and pointing to the wall, they said that this is the real world and eventually killed him. With this story, Plato points out to the death of Socrates, highlighting that Socrates was killed for challenging the beliefs of that time. Next, we delve into the period of Hellenism, a period of war where the countries were merged and the borders were reshaped. Now, this blending of nations, languages, and cultures gave rise to new gods, customs, and traditions. Fast forward a little to Israel, where the history actually started with God creating the world. Now, the people in the Israel were happily living, following the God's commandments until one day their divine protection failed to save them. So, Israel lost in war and was conquered by a foreign power. The people were enslaved and were ruled by foreign rulers. Now, as any good story would go, prophecies began to emerge, foreseeing that one day a king will come in the name of God and then restore Israel to its greatness. So, by now, you would have guessed who is the promised savior. After many years, Jesus arrives to Israel to protect it or to get it back from the foreign domination. But he comes with a twist. He says that he is not a military leader, but he has come here in this world with a greater mission. When the people were expecting a kingdom, Jesus said things like, love your neighbors as much as you love yourselves. And also, he went to a point saying that love your enemies. So, to know more about what happened to Jesus, it's better to get the Bible. After this, it is the period of Middle Ages where there is a conflict war between Christianity and the other old religions. So, in this war, of course, Christianity wins, and this era is all about how Christianity spread worldwide and the church established a new world order. Everything seemed peaceful with prayers and carols until history repeated itself. Enter the period of Renaissance, where again a few other daring thinkers asked the question, what if things aren't the way they seem? Now, as usual, questions leads to troubles. Giordano Bruno, for instance, was burned to death when he claimed that the universe is infinite. So, this period was a battleground between science and religion. So, it was a time when Copernicus declared that the earth revolved around the sun and Newton discovered gravity. Not only science, but there was also an artistic awakening, and a large number of great works of arts were produced, especially on the ceilings of the cathedrals. Some of the mainstream or most prominent artists of those times were Da Vinci and Michelangelo. So let's skip a few periods and enter into the period of Romanticism. Now, this was the age where the old gods were forgotten and art was the new god. As the name suggests, Romanticism was an era of love for life and love itself. This was the age of Beethoven and many other young artists. But most of the romanticists actually retired after their 30s into middle class conservative lives or died in their 20s. A prime example is the publication of the novel titled The Sorrows of Brother, where Brother shoots himself after not having the woman he loved. Now, the suicide rates increased after the publication of this novel. So, being a romantic is all about being a cringe. Finally, this book ends with some lessons on Marx, who sparked the revolution of the middle class in those ages. And it also has a chapter about Darwin, where he traveled around the world to develop his theory of evolution. And finally, it ends with talking about Freud with his groundbreaking theories of sex and dreams. Though the protagonist of this book is a 14-year-old, I wouldn't recommend this book to teenagers as it has some mature content. But if you're a person who want to know where it all started, then this is the best book for you. So this is a book for a person who wants to start their journey of philosophy. Personally, I love this book because it has just changed the way I see the world. So, philosophy is all about pushing you into an existential crisis where you try to juggle between the purpose of life and the trivialities of everyday life. So, I would like to finish this video by saying that philosophy is a trap, so read it at your own risk. Thank you.